Welcome back. Chinese authorities have admitted that there have been shortcomings and deficiencies in the country's response to the deadly coronavirus outbreak. Here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. Fears over the coronavirus triggered a sharp fall in Chinese shares when the market reopened after the Lunar New Year holiday. The Shanghai Composite Index closed nearly 8% lower, its biggest daily drop for more than 4 years. Manufacturing, materials and consumer goods companies were among the hardest hit, while healthcare shares soared. Meanwhile, the Chinese government has accused the US of causing panic in its response to the outbreak. It follows the US decision to declare a public health emergency and deny entry to foreign nationals who had visited China in the past 2 weeks. There are more than 17,000 confirmed cases of the virus in China. Some 361 people have died there. Meanwhile, China has opened a new hospital in Wuhan as the numbers of people infected continue to grow. The 1,000-bed Huashenshan hospital was built in just 8 days. It is one of 2 dedicated facilities being constructed to help tackle the outbreak. This amazing time-frame video shows just how fast it was erected. A second hospital at Leishenshan is due to be finished on Wednesday. Over in Hong Kong, hundreds of hospital workers have gone on strike, demanding the border with mainland China be completely closed to reduce the risk of the coronavirus spreading. Hong Kong's leader announced the closure of 4 more border crossings with mainland China, leaving just 3 checkpoints open, but stopped short of demands for the entire border to be closed to curb the spread of the virus. A man shot dead by police after he stabbed people in South London had been released from prison in January. 20-year-old Sudesh Aman was released around a week ago after serving half of his sentence of 3 years and 4 months for terror offences. He was under active police surveillance at the time of the attack on Streatham High Road, which police believe to be an Islamist-related terrorist incident. 3 people were injured, but none are in a life-threatening condition. London Mayor Sadiq Khan said Sunday's attack was both preventable and foreseeable after it became known the assailant was already under surveillance by police.
Both these attacks, the one in November and the one yesterday, were preventable and foreseeable. I've been concerned for some time, and I've made my views clear in relation to changes in law made by the government, which mean that judges haven't got the tools they used to have to keep people in prison longer who are still a danger to the public.
4 Turkish soldiers have been killed and 9 wounded in shelling by Syrian government forces in Syria's northwestern Idlib province. Turkey dispatched a military convoy on Monday to reinforce its observation points in Idlib as a result of the attack. Up to 35 Syrian soldiers were killed in retaliatory fire, although the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights put the number at just 6 people. Somalia has declared a national emergency as large swarms of locusts spread across East Africa. The country's Ministry of Agriculture said the insects, which consume large amounts of vegetation, posed a major threat to Somalia's fragile food security situation. There are fears that the situation may not be brought under control before the harvest begins in April. The UN says the swarms are the largest in Somalia and Ethiopia in 25 years and are threatening other East African countries.
For now, Kenya, Somalia and Ethiopia have been the main countries that have been infested by desert locusts in billions. But then there are also other countries at risk, especially South Sudan, Uganda, Eritrea, which is also infested so far.
The US has invited the head of Sudan's governing body to Washington, the first such visit in more than 3 decades. Sudan said Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burham would go to the US soon to discuss ways of developing bilateral ties. He has been the head of Sudan's Sovereign Council since August under a transitional power-sharing deal. Relations between the US and Sudan have improved since former President Omar al-Bashir was toppled last year. And finally, Joaquin Phoenix has received praise for using his BAFTA speech to call out systemic racism in the film industry.
Joaquin Phoenix for Joker.
Phoenix collected the Best Actor award for The Joker on Sunday. His comments followed an outcry about the all-white acting nominations lineup.
BAFTAs have always been very supportive of my career, and I'm deeply appreciative. But I have to say that I also feel conflicted, because so many of my fellow actors that are deserving don't have that same privilege. I think that we send a very clear message to people of color that you're not welcome here. I think that's the message that we're sending to people that have contributed so much to our medium and our industry and in ways that we benefit from.
And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thanks a lot, Simon. Let's take a look at some sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Ijoma. 8-time Australian Open champion Novak Djokovic posed with his trophy today in Melbourne. The Serbian told reporters that he is determined to hold on to his #1 ranking and end up as the man with the most Grand Slam singles titles when he finally hangs up his racket. The 32-year-old claimed the 17th Grand Slam title on Sunday when he beat Dominic Thiem to close in on Rafa Nadal, who is on 19, and Roger Federer, who has won 20. He's eyeing another big win at the World Athletics Indoor Tour in Dusseldorf, Germany on February the 4th. Fresh from winning the women's 60 meters in Karlsruhe at the weekend, clocking a new personal best of 7.84 seconds, she will go again for her second successive 60 meters hurdles title. The time brings her 0.02 seconds close to the African record set by Gloria Alozier in 1999, and it's also the second fastest time in the world in 2020. She will be up against America's Christiana Clemens for the second consecutive weekend. Africa's rise to ranked table tennis player, that's Aaron Quadri, has joined top club in the German Bundesliga table tennis league, Fulda Maberzell. Quadri will be joining the club based in the central part of Germany from next season, which will begin in September in the elite division of the Bundesliga. The president of the table tennis club, Stefan Frauenholz, says the decision to sign Quadri is based on the team's conviction that the Nigerian has a lot to offer based on his global exploits. Quadri has spent over 10 years playing in the Portuguese league with several laurels to show for his efforts. And that sports news is back to you, Joma.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari, worried over rising insecurity across the country, met with the leadership of the National Assembly today as the federal government sought ways of addressing the challenge. Meanwhile, the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo hinted on the plan to recruit more security personnel. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Do have a good night.